The facade of Munich's Haus der Kunst is decorated with 9,000 backpacks from China. It's part of Ai Weiwei's exhibition entitled So Sorry. The controversial Chinese artist is helping with the setup, even though he's actually supposed to be taking it easy after recent brain surgery. Ai Weiwei documents the setup for his blog, just like he documented his hospital stay. On arrival in Munich, Ai Weiwei was found to have bleeding in his brain and had to have surgery. He says it was a result of a beating by Chinese police.
Lots of people in China read my blog. They spread my news. And by documenting the incident on the internet, I want to shake people up and remind them of what kind of society we're living in, what kind of justice system we have, and how police in China treat our citizens.
Ai Weiwei was born in 1957 in the Chinese capital, Beijing. He's long been a star of the Chinese art world, enjoying a certain amount of license and even openly criticizing the regime. But now his studio on the outskirts of town is under police surveillance. With his recent activities, Ai Weiwei appears to have stepped over the line, from the authorities' point of view. He's coordinating a team trying to determine the exact number of school children who were killed in the 2008 Szechuan earthquake. They've already compiled a list of more than 6,000 names. This video footage from the aftermath of the quake was filmed by Ai Weiwei's team. Thousands of children were buried under the wreckage of school buildings. Ai Weiwei has accused construction officials of corruption.
Why did the public school buildings collapse, while the private buildings next door remained standing? The government has to take responsibility and pay compensation to the children's parents.
In the initial designs for the Munich exhibition, the backpacks for the gallery's facade emphasized the fact that so many of those killed in the earthquake were children. The designs form a Chinese phrase intended to commemorate the dead.
The saying comes from one of the mothers. She wrote to us, "I don't want any compensation from the government. I'm not making any demands. I just want people to remember my daughter, young Szechuan." The mother's words are on the facade. She lived happily in this world for 7 years.
Ai Weiwei has prepared his installation for Munich at an old factory building in Beijing. This work, called Rooted Upon, features 100 tree trunks from across China, uprooted and sawn off. The elaborate preparations for the one-man show included work on a template, a wooden sculpture made of antique Chinese doors. It was exhibited at the last Documenta exhibition in 2007, where it fell down in a storm. Now it will be shown again, preserved in its collapsed state. A gigantic carpet has been made for the Munich exhibition. It's a faithful reproduction of the stone floor of the Haus der Kunst. This is intended as a reference to the museum's history. During the Nazi era, it was the venue for propaganda exhibitions of artworks approved by the Nazi regime.
The floor is testimony to the history of the museum. The squares on the carpet are supposed to look exactly like the tiles on the museum floor, but my carpet is soft and cushioning. That's the language I've found to express my idea.
As the investigations of the earthquake and the preparations for the show were continuing at the same time, Ai Weiwei was visited by the police. He sees it as one of many attempts to intimidate him. His blog, which was read by 10,000 people every day, was shut down. Ai Ai Weiwei's situation grew more precarious when he traveled to Szechuan to testify at the trial of a fellow activist. The police blocked his way. One of his colleagues filmed the encounter. The officers followed Ai Weiwei to his hotel and took him away, preventing him from reaching the courtroom. These are pictures of the artist before he was beaten by the police. And these are photos Ai Weiwei put on his blog after the incident. He has made the abuse he experienced a theme of the Munich show. Ai Weiwei was in surgery while his team unrolled the carpet. He was in the hospital while most of his exhibition was being set up, but Ai Weiwei says he's determined not to let the beating end his protest activities.
Every individual in China must take active steps for human rights. That's absolutely necessary. If we don't do that, the government will never change.
As an artist and activist, Ai Weiwei has always been in the avant-garde, and he intends to continue despite all of the risks.